Howdy folks, it's me, Brian. Today we're going to take a look at Am I a Jerk? And we're going to see the ones where they've all been judged as a jerk. We might have a special one at the end. I'm not sure. We'll see if it's any good. Our first story is titled, Am I a Jerk for Not Bringing My Fat Kid Hiking? My friends Sophie, Lucy, and Austin and I are all college students. While none of us are star athletes, Sophie and Lucy and I are more fit, while Austin is on the heavier side. Austin also has mild asthma. A few weeks ago, the four of us went hiking. The trail was steep, but Sophie, Lucy, and I were able to make it up without too many issues. However, we had to stop several times so Austin could catch his breath. At one point, he told us to keep going without him, and he'd meet us at the top meet us when we came back down the mountain. We kept encouraging him, and he did make it to the top after some struggles. Sophie recently got asked on a hiking date and wanted to make sure that she was prepared, so she texted Lucy and I if we'd like to go hiking with her. She made it clear she didn't want to invite Austin, as she wanted to be able to take a challenging trail without him slowing us down. Lucy and I agreed to hike with her. We had a lovely hike with nice views. I snapped a picture at one point without thinking and posted to a Snapchat story. When I got home, I had a message from Austin asking where I'd been. I told him that we had gone for a hike with Sophie and Lucy. He responded, "Where was my invite?" I said that Sophie had texted Lucy and I and had been fairly last minute. He didn't respond after that, and I assumed that he was done with the situation. The next day, the four of us were hanging out together when Austin made a passive-aggressive comment on how he hoped we enjoyed yesterday's hike without him. Here's what I think may have been where I may have been the jerk. I stepped in immediately and told him the reason we didn't invite him is because on the last hike he slowed us down a lot and we wanted to be able to challenge ourselves. He seemed pretty upset and left. Lucy agrees with me, while Sophie says I could have been nicer. I could have found a nicer way to phrase it. Did I go too far? Edit, in a short amount of time, this has already gathered a fair bit of attention. I wonder why. I accept that I'm a jerk and that I'm going to go apologize to Austin. Well, at least they're going to apologize. I am also seeing a lot of comments about Austin would have known it was too much for him and may have known that it was too much for him and said no. But he is the type that wants to be part of everything and wouldn't sit out. We didn't want to abandon him somewhere on the mountain. I'm absolutely open to hiking with him in the future and beginning with some less challenging trails to help him build up stamina. That being said, I do accept that I'm a jerk, especially for posting a picture and how I spoke to him. Yeah, I mean, I think really where you messed up was that you said that he slowed you down and that you wanted to do something challenging without him. And I think it's all right to do exercises and whatnot without someone. In the future, you all can work out something better and maybe even work out a schedule and say, well, on these days, we want to do some more challenging ones. He's a little bit of a jerk here because he's being passive aggressive and, making comments about how he hoped you guys enjoyed the time without him. But also you went a little far with the whole saying that he was slowing you folks down. All right, let's move along to the next story. Our next story is titled, Am I a Jerk for Forgetting My Wife's Birthday After 6 Years of Marriage? I'm just going to kind of circle this. Yeah, let's find out. We'll leave some doubt here. Maybe he's not a jerk. Now hear me out. I promise there's some substance to my side of the story. We're hearing you out. My wife, 34, and I, 36, have been married for 6 years and have 2 sons, 5 and 3. We are both members of a congregation of a comparatively progressive church and attend Mass whenever we get a chance before the pandemic. Whenever we got a chance before the pandemic. Flashback to April of this year. As per most Sunday mornings, my wife, kids, and I were attending weekly Mass. Though it was virtual now, our priest, who we'll call Father Joseph, announced that our church would be hosting a Zoom event on Easter Sunday. After the service, him and I were messaging about the event. He seemed rather excited about the event, and since he always loved when I brought my sons to service, I told him I would attend. Now, of course, as an avid Christian man and a lover of holiday spirit, I decided that I would go all out for my sons and decorate the house so that this year's Easter, as well as the event, would still feel special for them, while despite the fact that we would be going through it at the beginning of the pandemic. For the next weeks leading up to Easter Sunday, my wife would sometimes ask me about what we were planning to do on that day. I kept telling her not to worry and that I had something planned. I wanted my big Easter plans to surprise her. She deserved a break. She didn't need to have the stress of planning a holiday for our sons on her shoulders too. Skip to the morning of Easter Sunday. I was awake much earlier than the rest of my family, having been setting up decorations and getting ready for the Zoom event. My wife came into the living room to see all the pastel decorations and balloons, as well as the breakfast I had made especially for the kids. I stopped her when she went to eat the kids' breakfast, and she asked me why she couldn't eat. I told her that I wanted everything to look perfect for the kids when they woke up, and that I had saved some extra pancakes for us. Apparently, that was the wrong answer. My wife's birthday fell on the same Easter Sunday that year, and I got too caught up in trying to do something nice for the kids to pay attention to that date. Because of the pandemic, we had been spending much more time together than we ever had been before, and I'm afraid this mistake is causing a rift in our marriage. I really need to get some outside opinion on this, and I'm not comfortable talking to anyone I know about this. All right. Well, I mean, what do you think, people in the comments? Is he a jerk here? I'm going to say yes. Yes, he's a jerk. It's nice that you want to do something nice for your kids. It's nice that you wanted to prepare something, but you've been married for 6 years, and assuming you dated a little before that, you know that your wife's birthday falls sometime in the Easter range, I'm assuming. That should have probably triggered something in your head. And I mean, I think probably what upset her more than anything was that you didn't pay attention to her and you didn't think of her during this whole thing. And it's great that you were thinking of the kids, but again, it was kind of thoughtless not to think of her and then to plan out this big party and not have, her involved at all. So that's kind of my opinion. It was good intentions and for the kids, and really bad on your wife, for you to do that to your wife. I think she rightly was upset. So yeah, don't forget your wife's birthday. Don't forget your wife's birthday. Mark it on a calendar if you have to. If this is something that you're going to forget, put it on the calendar. Don't forget it again. Never forget her birthday again. Apologize. Make her a special meal. Do whatever. But, make it up to her. If birthdays are important to her, then that's what you need to do. Our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Not Letting My Cousin Eat Ice Cream? I know this sounds silly, but hear me out. This past week, I, a 23-year-old female, have been watching my little cousin, a 10-year-old male. This isn't the first time I've looked after him, but my mother says I can be too hard on him when it comes to chores or play time. I'm a natural introvert, so when I need space, I can be a bit snappy. Today, I was supposed to make sure he made it to class on time. I woke up a little late, so he didn't get a chance to eat breakfast. He's not allowed to eat during class. So he just had some chicken nuggets and mac and cheese during his breaks. Here's the kicker. He's an incredibly slow eater and extremely picky. I've seen him eat a single bite box of Popeyes for nearly 8 hours. That doesn't actually sound healthy. You probably shouldn't be leaving food out for 8 hours. After class, he finishes mac and cheese and eats a bunch of Halloween candy. Later in the evening, he asks for ice cream. So I told him I'll only give him ice cream if he can finish another bowl of mac and cheese. He said deal. He picks at it for about 2 hours and then asks for a burrito. I give it to him, but by the time he finishes it, it's nearly bedtime, so I don't give him ice cream. So here's the thing. He's extremely sensitive and cries easily. Plus, his parents don't live together. Later that evening, my mom says she hears him sniffling and he's really up. when I hear what happened, she calls me mean and materialistic. She also says that he's had it hard enough at home and is supposed to be a place of healing for him. I assured him that his eating schedule was out of whack and that things will be different tomorrow, but she still thinks that I was a jerk. Was I too harsh on him? Edit, I just want to make one thing clear. I did not give him a strict bedtime to push him away. I did it because I had already messed up by sleeping in that morning and wanted to avoid that mistake again. Looking back, I could have spared 10 minutes for ice cream. As far as I'm aware, it's really unhealthy to eat right before you go to sleep. And I don't necessarily think you should be eating sweet foods right before you sleep. And I think that that's actually really problematic. If he's a very slow eater, that's fine. If this is perishable food and he's taking a really long time to eat it, that's actually not so good. Hopefully he's, refrigerating it and heating it up as he goes along. As for the food, it's really, when did he go to bed? Was this 7 o'clock? Was this 5 o'clock? I mean, if you sent him to bed at 5 p.m. and, didn't give him ice cream, you were probably being a jerk. If this is like 9 p.m. and you didn't want to feed him ice cream at 9 p.m. at night, then probably not so much of a jerk. So I think this really just depends on when his normal bedtime is and when he normally goes to sleep and when he normally wakes up. So that's kind of what I have to say. I don't necessarily think you're entirely a jerk here, but I also think that this is an odd situation and that I don't entirely agree that you're a jerk here, but I think I would need a little more info. All right, our next story is titled, Am I a Jerk Because I Didn't Tell My Boyfriend That I Was Followed Whole on a Run? I think they mean home. I wanted to go running a few days ago about 1 a.m., and my new boyfriend, about 1 week, was expressing concern since I live in a fairly dangerous area. I'm not usually afraid, and I don't carry self-defense stuff, but I do carry some money in case I get robbed. I told him I was going to go anyways, and he asked me to text him when I was done. On my run, a man in a car pulled up to talk to me and followed me for a few blocks, but he didn't get out of the car. This was a bit scary, but not super uncommon. When I got home, I messaged my boyfriend that I was back, and that was that. Today I accidentally mentioned the man in the car, and my boyfriend got pretty upset that I didn't tell him at the time. He isn't talking to me now. Am I a jerk for not telling him about this? I'm assuming you're an adult. If you're an adult, you can make your own decisions. You don't need to tell him about every single thing that's happened in your life. He's worried about you, sure, but it's your prerogative here to do this. Now, you've lived here for presumably quite a while, and you did so just fine without your boyfriend of 1 week. I think you can continue to make decisions on your own without telling him about every little minutia thing that has happened here. No, you're not a jerk. I don't know why Reddit is saying that you are, but I kind of disagree. Our next story is titled, Am I a Jerk for Asking My Coworker What She Sees in Her Boyfriend? That is probably not a good way of phrasing things. Let's find out. I have this coworker who's very cute, and I did consider asking her out until I found out she had a boyfriend. One also being a coworker. All right, here we go. I honestly can't remember the last time I saw a couple who look comparably out of each other's leagues. This girl is really attractive, and I've heard her mention her being a cheerleader type when she was in high school. All right. All right, let's finish this before we make any too many judgments. Her boyfriend, on the other hand, is basically Kyle's cousin Kyle from South Park. He has a very stereotypical nerd look, and he's constantly complaining about his various health issues and his high-pitched, whiny, nasally voice of his. One day, he was complaining about his dry skin. The next day, I don't know what that word is, Lashia? And the next, his digestion problems. He also does some things that really annoy the hell out of me. He's one of those deep breathers where his breathing is noticeably loud and distracting, and he chews with his mouth wide open. I honestly it's really honestly disgusting taking a break next to him and having him hear him smack his lips together nonstop. Well, there's a solution to that is don't take a break next to him. I don't see what my female coworker sees in him, so I asked her today. Just basically asked her, what do you see in him? And she replies, excuse me? As she should have. I repeated my question, and she told me that it's none of my business. She looked pissed, and I even had a manager give me a warning about the conversation. I'm just curiously asking her a question, and I'm just wondering if she has a right to be upset with me. Okay, so this kind of sounds like a situation where you like this girl, and you want to date her, and you think that he is not deserving of her affections, and that you would probably be a better match for her. I'm going to make that assumption here. Maybe I'm wrong. Here's the thing. It really doesn't matter what she sees in him. She sees something. And you're not dating him. You don't have to see anything in him. You don't have to like any of those characteristics that he has. She likes him, and she likes him for a reason. And that's all there is to it. It doesn't matter if you understand or don't understand. It doesn't sound like you're particularly close to your coworker. It doesn't sound like you are like gossip buddies and engage in conversations and stuff like that, and that you have an actual place to like ask this question. No, it just kind of sounds like you're her random coworker who she probably barely knows, and you're like, what do you see in this guy? I mean, that's rude, man. Really, really rude. Let them be a happy couple, and don't say that she's out of his league. She'll decide. They together will decide whether they are within each other's league or not. Yeah, maybe she just doesn't like jerks, and maybe he's not a jerk. I don't know. Just a thought. All right, I think we still have enough time. And I will throw in one, not a jerk. So let's find out if that's even the case here. It looked interesting, so it might not be. Am I a jerk for revoking my niece's college fund after she tried to steal my dog? This is why I include it, because it looked like an interesting story. I have a college fund set up for my 16-year-old niece, which currently has about $60,000 in it. My sister, her mom, was visiting the house yesterday with my niece. At one point, I was feeding Jupiter, who is my dog, and my niece started interrogating me when she saw the bag of food and noticed that it was vegan. I do, in fact, feed him vegan food with the full blessing of the veterinarian, and under the supervision of the veterinary nutritionalist. My sister joined in this interrogation, so I asked them both to leave. I went upstairs while they were gathering their things, and I looked out the window and I noticed they had grabbed Jupiter and were about to drive off with him. I immediately dashed downstairs and out the door, stopping them in time before they went off. I managed to get Jupiter back, and they were both screaming at me how I don't deserve him. As a result of the incident, I have decided to revoke my niece's college fund, informing them of this fact this morning. I then received a very long, unhinged barrage of texts from my sister telling me that she's going to sue me for all the money in the college fund, despite the fact that there was never any contract. So I don't know whether dogs can be vegan or not, and I'm assuming if your veterinarian says that they are able to have this diet and that they are healthy, then it's fine. But also, if the dog is not healthy, if they have reason to believe that the dog isn't healthy, then maybe there is a different side of a coin here. It does sound like, just given the fact that you have a veterinarian who is supervising this diet and that your dog seems to be healthy on this diet, I'm assuming that it's fine, but again, like, it depends on whether or not dogs can be on a vegetarian diet. I know explicitly that cats cannot be. They are obligate carnivores. And I don't know if that's the case for dogs. Let's find out. Let's find out real quick. All right, so I just looked this up on Google, and it does seem like dogs can safely have a vegan diet, although they may be at risk of something like vitamin D or vitamin B deficiencies. So it does sound like, though, that you are working closely with a veterinarian, and if that's the case, then you're probably fine. All right, so they should mind their own business, I guess, and stay out of your dog's healthcare, I guess. So as for revoking their college fund, I mean, you can do whatever you want. They tried stealing your dog, so I can't really blame you for being angry at them. And even if they disagreed with your choices for your dog, it's, one thing to try stealing the dog. It's another thing to try talking it over with you. And, yeah, it doesn't sound like they did their homework. It doesn't sound like they're checking to make sure that your dog is healthy. But again, it's hard to say all of the minutiae here, but probably you're in the right. All right, folks, I guess that's all the time we have for today. Hopefully you enjoyed this series of stories. I enjoyed probably most all of these. I thought they were pretty good. Maybe we'll do this type of sorting again where we just look at the daily jerks, and maybe we'll dive into it again. I kind of like the jerk stories better than the non-jerk stories because for me, the non-jerk ones oftentimes are kind of like just looking for validation versus the ones that are clearly like jerks and they have no idea if they're jerks or not are amusing to me because it's like, yeah, I don't know how you don't see that you're a jerk here, but I don't know. It's hard sometimes to see the forest for the trees if you're in a situation, so I can see that. I can see that. All right, so hopefully you enjoyed this episode. We'll try doing it again sometime, and I'll see you all later. Take care. Bye.